श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां व्यासशङ्करमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ ब्रह्मविदा आप्नोति परं तदेशाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं ब्रह्म यो वेद निहितं गुहायां परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति तस्माद्वा एतस्मादात्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः आकाशाद्वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्नेरापः अद्भ्यः पृथिवी पृथिव्या ओषधयः ओषधीभ्योऽन्नम् अन्नात् पुरुषः स वा एष पुरुषोन्नरसमयः तस्येदमेव शिरः अयं दक्षिणः पक्षः अयमुत्तरः पक्षः अयमात्मा इदं पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति अन्नाद्वै प्रजाः प्रजायन्ते याः काश्च पृथिवीगश्रिताः अथो अन्नेनैव जीवन्ति अथैनदपि यन्त्यन्ततः अन्नगं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठं तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते सर्वं वै तेन्नमाप्नुवन्ति येन्नं ब्रह्मोपासते अन्नगं हि भूतानां ज्येष्ठं तस्मात् सर्वौषधमुच्यते अन्नात् भूतानि जायन्ते जातान्यन्नेन वर्धन्ते अद्यतेति च भूतानि तस्मादन्नं तदुच्यत इति तस्माद्वायेतस्मादन्नरसमयात् अन्योन्तर आत्मा प्राणमयः तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविद एव तस्य पुरुषविधताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविदः तस्य प्राण एव शिरः व्यानो दक्षिणः पक्षः अपानवुत्तरः पक्षः आकाश आत्मा पृथिवी पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति प्राणं देवा अनुप्राणन्ति मनुष्याः पशवश्च ये प्राणो हि भूतानामायुः तस्मात् सर्वायुषमुच्यते सर्वमेव त आयुर्यन्ति प्राणं ब्रह्मोपासते प्राणो हि भूतानामायुः तस्मात् सर्वायुषमुच्यत इति तस्यैष एव शारीर आत्मा यः पूर्वस्य तस्माद्वायेतस्मात् प्राणमयात् अन्योन्तर आत्मा मनोमयः तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविद एव तस्य पुरुषविधताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविदः तस्य यजुरेव शिरः ऋग्दक्षिणः पक्षः सामोत्तरः पक्षः आदेश आत्मा अथर्वाङ्गिरसः पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति यतो वाचो निवर्तन्ते अप्राप्य मनसा सह आनन्दं ब्रह्मणो विद्वान् न बिभेति कदाचनेति अस्यैष एव शारीर आत्मा यः पूर्वस्य तस्माद्वायेतस्मान्मनोमयात् अन्योन्तर आत्मा विज्ञानमयः तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविद एव तस्य पुरुषविधताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविदः तस्य श्रद्धैव शिरः ऋतं दक्षिणः पक्षः सत्यमुत्तरः पक्षः yoga atma mahah puchcham pratishtha tadapyesha sloko bhavati vijnanam yajnantanute karmani tanute picha vijnanan deva sarve brahma jeshtamupasate. I think you must chant after me this one. Vijnanam yajnantanute Vijnanam yajnantanute karmani tanute picha karmani tanute picha vijnanan deva sarve vijnanan deva sarve brahma jeshtamupasate tamupasate vijnanam brahma chedveda vijnanam brahma chedveda tasmachenna pramadyati tasmachenna pramadyati sharire papmano hitva sharire papmano hitva sharire papmano hitva sharire papmano hitva sarvan kaman samashnuta iti sarvan kaman samashnuta iti tasyaisha eva sharira atma vasharira atma yah purvasya tasmadvaye tasmad vijnanamayat etasmad vijnanamayat anyontara atmanandamaya atmanandamaya tenaisha purnaha savayesha purusha vidha eva savayesha purusha vidha eva tasya purusha vidhatam anvayam purusha vidhaha tasya priyameva shiraha modo dakshinah pakshaha pramoda uttarah pakshaha ananda atma mahah puchcham pratishtha brahma puchcham pratishtha tadapyesha sloko bhavati vijnanam yajnantanute karmani tanute picha vijnanam deva sarve brahma jeshtamupasate vijnanam brahma chedveda tasmachenna pramadyati tasmachenna चेन्न प्रमाद्यति चेन्न प्रमाद्यति शरीरे पाप्मनो हित्वा शरीरे पाप्मनो हित्वा सर्वान् कामान् समश्नुत इति सर्वान् कामान् समश्नुत इति तस्यैष एव शारीर आत्मा श एव शारीर आत्मा यः पूर्वस्य तस्माद्वाये तस्माद् तस्मात् विज्ञानमयात् विज्ञानमयात् तस्माद्वाये तस्माद् विज्ञानमयात् द्वाये तस्माद् विज्ञानमयात् अन्योन्तर आत्मानन्दमयः तर आत्मानन्दमयः तेनैष पूर्णः तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविद एव पुरुषविद एव तस्य पुरुषविधताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविदः यं पुरुषविदः तस्य प्रियमेव शिरः तस्य प्रियमेव शिरः मोदो दक्षिणः पक्षः मोदो दक्षिणः पक्षः प्रमोद उत्तरः पक्षः प्रमोद उत्तरः पक्षः आनन्द आत्मा आनन्द आत्मा ब्रह्मपुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा छं प्रतिष्ठा ब्रह्मपुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा ब्रह्मपुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. Now we can see how gradually we have moved from the known to the knowledge and knowledge to the knower. Actually, even the knowledge and the knower also will be negated as the known later on. But now you can see, until the pranamaya, you see everything as the known. Then manomaya is the knowledge. Now we come to the knower. But still, we say, that's why vijnanam yajnam tanute. We saw this morning, we understood vijnanamaya atma, which is vijnanamayaha, which is mistaken to be the atma, also is anatma. Atma is not the vijnanamayaha. The vijnanamayaha is anatma koshaha. Therefore, any anatma is an effect. It is just the non-substantial form and name. Therefore, it doesn't have independent existence of its own. It is not countable at all. Therefore, it is resolvable in Satyam. Resolvable in Satyam means what? That which lends existence is Satyam. That which borrows existence is Mithya. So, Vijnanamayaha also is Anatma. Now, you resolve it in the Anandamayaha. Then simultaneously, you have to resolve the Samashti Vijnanam Brahma, the total Vijnanam Brahma, the corresponding total also resolve it in Samashti Ananda Mayaha. Ananda. Samashti Ananda. How we can resolve it, that we'll see here. So Vijnanamaya is also Atma, but still we understood the glorification of Vijnanam. This Vijnanamaya, Vijnanam, Brahma or Vijnanamaya, we understood all these actions are possible. The performer of actions, the doer of actions is Vijnanam Brahma, because the knower of everything is also Vijnanam Brahma. When you say, even the Devas meditate upon Vijnanam Brahma, means what? There is another. We do not know. Devas meditate upon Brahma means we only understand, okay, other Devas also meditate upon Brahma. But there's another interpretation is given by a commentator, another commentator, in a commentary called Vanamala. He said, all these Devas, when they were human beings, they must have meditated upon is Brahma, Vijnanam Brahma. They must have practiced this Ahangraha Upasanam. They must have invoked the Samashti Vijnanam Brahma in their own Vijnanamaya Kosha. And as a result of it, they must have earned Punyam. They must have become Devas. That is what is mentioned here. So the human beings who meditated who practice this meditation upon Vijnanam Brahma, as a result of which they earned Punyam, which has given them the status of being the Devas now. That's one meaning is given. Another meaning, simple meaning is given. Even the sense organs are said to be Devas. All 10 powers in the bodies are also Devas, Devatas. All of them function properly. See, when the total is in proper order, everything functioning in its own, in properly functioning is what? Not disturbing the order. Okay, imagine, if a person does his duties properly, then he's not disturbing the whole system. If all your functions are happening properly, they're all in proper order, then there's no disturbance. Similarly, every Devata, every sense organ involving itself in its own function, being functional, remaining within the realm of order also is like a meditation. Another way of seeing. Therefore, all of them are part of the Samashti Hiranyagarbha, Samashtihi. So everything functions. See, eyes function, the seeing power function as the seeing power without disturbing. Hearing power functions as the hearing power without disturbing. Imagine one power doesn't function. There's a disturbance. So all these subtle powers function or functional means they are in tune, in harmony with the Hiranyagarbha, Samashtihi. So physiological functions are happening. All the sense powers are functional. All the powers of organs of actions are functional. Mind is functional. Function of mentation is happening. Everything is functional properly means everything is in tune, in harmony with Samashti Hiranyagarbha. This everything being functional itself is what? Involved in its own duty is also what? Actually a sort of meditation. This also mentioned, one meaning is given. I wanted to bring it to your, this morning I didn't want to confuse you. Now I want to tell you this. Okay. Now, it was very clear. Therefore, this Vijnanamaya Atma is also Anatma. Not Atma is not Vijnanamaya. Therefore, Vijnanamaya is Koshaha. Once it is a Koshaha means you can immediately understand it is resolvable in Atma, which is Anandamaya. Now we are going to see Upanishad in presence now. We have already cognitively, intellectually negated Vijnanamaya as Koshaha. We are not taking it anymore as Atma. Why? Atma is not Vijnanamaya. Atma is not the intellect. I said also this morning, Vijnanamaya is an object of knowledge. Now, if Vijnanamaya is not the Atma, then what is the Atma where Vijnanamaya, Koshaha is resolvable? Where should be resolved? Cognitively. This resolution at every level is called what? Cognitively resolving every layer of personality as Koshaha, Anatma is called what? Pravilapanam. Cognitively resolving every layer of personality, understanding it to be the Anatma Koshaha. Resolving it is called Pravilapanam. We resolved the Annamaya in Annamaya Kosha in Pranamaya Atma. Then Pranamaya also understood to be the Anatma. Then Pranamaya Kosha was resolved in Manomaya. Now Manomaya also understood to be Anatma Kosha. Manomaya Kosha was resolved in Vijnanamaya Atma. Then Vijnanamaya also understood to be Anatma Kosha is also resolved in Anandamaya Atma. Now Anandamaya is mistaken to be the Atma. It means now essence is identified with Anandamaya, which is Anandamaya also is actually a state of mind only, and which is completely a potential condition. So, therefore, because essence is identified with this Anandamaya, Anandamaya is taken to be the Atma. But now we have to analyze and understand Anandamaya also Anatma. Atma is not Anandamaya. The whole aim of this Panchakosha Viveka Prakriya itself is for us to help arrive at the nature of the Atma, understand, arrive at the Atma in terms of its Swarupam. Because Atma is the abstract, formless, attributeless. Therefore, the Prakriya itself is to help us arrive at the Atma, the reality. Then it is this Atma, the abstract reality implied by the term Atma alone, Atma being the content of essence, should be understood. Therefore, here we move on to next. Anandamaya. Tasmadvaye tasmadvijnanamayat. Tasmadvaye tasmadvijnanamayat. The fifth anvaka in the middle. Anyontara atmanandamaya. Anyontara atmanandamaya. Tasmadvaye tasmadvijnanamayat. Dvaye tasmadvijnanamayat. So from this Vijnanamayaha. Tasmad etasmad. Etasmad means from this. Vijnanamayaha. From this Vijnanamaya Koshaha. Now we know Vijnanamayaha is not taken anymore as the Atma. Already negated as Anatma. Resolved as the Kosha. Now from this Vijnanamaya Koshaha, this layer of personality known as Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anatma, and which is non-different from the Samashti Vijnanam Brahma. That Samashti Vijnanam Brahma, Hiranyagarbha, the total macrocosm, which alone is there as the Vijnanamaya Kosha. From this Vijnanamaya Kosha, Tasmat etasmat Vijnanamayat, Anyaha, Antaraha, inside or interior to that, inside of that Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anyaha, there is a different Atma. There is a different Atma interior to that Vijnanamaya Kosha, instead of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Inside means what? We should not take it seriously like inside. There is another layer of personality. And what is that? But what is that Atma which is distinct, which is different, which is inside, which is interior to this Vijnanamaya Koshaha? It is said Anandamayaha. Anandamayaha Atma. Tasmadvaye tasmad Vijnanamayat. Tasmadvaye tasmad Vijnanamayat. So, what is it Atma now? Anyontara Atmanandamayaha. Anyontara Atmanandamayaha. So there is Anandamayaha is the Atma which is interior to and but different from the Vijnanamayaha Koshaha. There is Anandamayaha Atma which is interior to that Vijnanamayaha, which is different from the Vijnanamayaha. That is Anandamayaha. Anyaha Antaraha Atma Anandamayaha. Now we take this Anandamayaha as the Atma. Why do we take this Anandamayaha as the Atma? Said to be Atma because essence is identified with the Anandamayaha also. So many aspects which constitute the individual human being. There is also essence on the part of the human being, but this essence is identified with all the aspects of the individual. But actually, what is that which you should be identified with, that is not known. Therefore, Anandamayaha Atma. Now, because Anandamayaha is taken to be the Atma means, and this Anandamayaha fills the Vijnanamaya Koshaha. Tenaisha Purnaha. Tenaisha Purnaha. Now, this Anandamayaha also is like the content, and Vijnanamayaha is like the container, Vijnanamaya Koshaha, the layer of personality which has been negated as the Koshaha, called Vijnanamaya Koshaha, is like the container. Now Anandamaya Atma is the content. Therefore, Tena Yeshaha Purnaha. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Now this Vijnanamaya is filled by the Anandamaya. Tena means by the Vijnana. Now Vijnanamaya. Yeshaha means this. Yeshaha Purnaha. This is filled. This Vijnanamaya is filled by that Anandamaya Atma. And because already we know from the beginning, every kosha being interior to the other kosha assumes the final form of physical, the human form. The physical body, Annamaya had the form, and all other subtle aspects which indwell the physical body is said to be assuming the same human form. So here also the same mantra is repeated. It will be easy for you to understand. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Everybody understood until now? Yeah. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Savayesha Purusha Vidha Eva. Now Saha vai Eshaha Purusha Vidaha. Purusha Vidaha, every time we read, we come across this word. So Purusha Vidaha, Purusha Akaraha. Purusha Akaraha means human form. So this Anandamaya Atma also being interior to the Vijnanamaya Koshaha assumes the human form of the preceding Koshaha. Tasya Purusha Vidhatam. Tasya Purusha Vidhatam. Anvayam Purusha Vidhaha. Anvayam Purusha Vidhaha. So Tasya Purusha Vidatam Anu Ayam Purusha Vidaha means this Anandamaya Atma is of the human form in keeping with the human form of the preceding Koshaha. Now, once you understand the Anandamaya Atma having the human form, in keeping with the human form of the preceding Kosha, now you can see, we have to see what are those 5 features, remember? But here, only 3 features, because subtlest. Arrived at the subtlest aspect within the realm of matter. Tasya priyameva shiraha. Tasya priyameva shiraha. We have all the aspects are discussed, but we will not see that as how we saw before. Tasya priyameva shiraha. Tasya priyameva shiraha. Modo dakshinah pakshaha. Modo dakshinah pakshaha. Pramoda uttarah pakshaha. Pramoda uttarah pakshaha. Ananda Atma. Ananda Atma. Brahma pucham pratishtha. Cham pratishtha. Tadapyesha sloko bhavati. Tadapyesha sloko bhavati. So what are those features? Shiraha, Dakshinah Pakshaha, Uttarah Pakshaha, Atma and Pucham, Pratishtha. So what are the features? Those features, head. So here we see the head part of the Anandamaya Atma is said to be Priyam. Priyam is the Shiraha. Priyam, the word Priyam literally means dear, beloved. Priya means dear, beloved, etc. You should take it as pleasure. Priyam implies pleasure. So pleasant mental disposition, happy disposition of the mind. Okay, happy disposition, pleasant disposition, pleasure is Priyam. This happy disposition, pleasant disposition, pleasure is looked upon as the head of the Anandamaya Atma. Still Atma. What is the right hand of this Anandamaya Atma? Right wing. Dakshinaha Pakshaha. Right wing of this Anandamaya Atma is Modo. Means Modaha. We break it. Modaha Dakshinah Pakshaha. Because it's an euphonic combination rule, we read it as Modo. Modo Dakshinah Pakshaha. Modo Dakshinah Pakshaha. No, Modaha. Modaha, a slightly higher degree of pleasure. Higher degree of pleasure. You can say joy or happier disposition. Happy disposition is Priyam. Happier disposition, more pleasant disposition, or joy is meant by the word Modaha. Now, Pramoda Uttarav Pakshaha. Pramoda Uttarav Pakshaha. You add one prefix to Modaha. Modaha itself means joy, pleasure. Okay? Now, Pramodaha. Pramoda, the prefix pra added to Modaha adds. So, happiest disposition, happy disposition, happier disposition, happiest disposition. So, pleasure, joy, ecstasy. So, most pleasant disposition. Pleasant disposition, more pleasant disposition, the most pleasant disposition. Happy disposition, happier disposition, happiest disposition. Pleasure, more pleasure, the most pleasure. A greater pleasure, greatest pleasure. Pramodaha Uttarav Pakshaha. So, the happiest disposition is the looked upon as the right wing of the Anandamaya Atma. Now, the pleasure, joy, ecstasy, happy, happier, happiest disposition is only adjectives. Isn't it? There's a gradation. The gradation, the degree, there's a variation in degree of pleasure. Therefore, we can say the graded experience. What is this happy disposition, happier disposition, happiest disposition, pleasure, joy, ecstasy? What is this? It's only a state of experience. A state of experience is another state of mind. So this state of mind, state of experience is a state of mind. Even though there is a variation, the degree varies. The degree of pleasure varies. In keeping with the time, in keeping with the place, in keeping with the object enjoyed, in keeping with the person you are with, varies. Therefore, graded. This is what we say, Anandamayaha. What is Anandamayaha? Is this happy, happier, happiest dispositions of the mind. The pleasure, joy, and ecstasy. This is graded. And these not only graded states of the pleasure, this comes and goes. Therefore, arriving, departing, time-bound, graded, conditional, experiential pleasure is Anandamayaha. Arriving, departing, time-bound, conditional, graded pleasure, experiential pleasure is Anandamayaha. The very expression Mayaha implies this pleasure being subject to change. The very expression Mayaha implies what? Anandamayaha means any degree of pleasure enjoyed, experienced is subject to change. Subject to change means it is impermanent. Then graded, this pleasure is what? Experiential pleasure. Anandamayaha, obtaining in this in the form of happiest disposition of the mind is what? Actually, graded means because there's a degrees, the variation is there. Isn't it? So, comparative degree, superlative degree, positive degree, happy disposition, happier disposition, happiest disposition. Because there is a degree varies, it's a graded. It's a gradation. Then it's experiential. Why it is experiential? Because it comes and goes. It is conditional. Conditional also. Why? How do you say it's conditional? Because any pleasure is dependent on the condition, given condition. Condition of what? The object dependent upon the enjoy object. If a given object is not there, my pleasure will disappear. And that object also only in a given place, that pleasure is possible. In some other place, that pleasure is not possible. With a given object, in the association of a given person, in enjoying a given object, the pleasure is there. The object is not there, pleasure also goes. In some other place, the same pleasure is not possible. And only in a given time, that pleasure is possible. To enjoy a given degree of pleasure, dependent on what? The place where you are, the people whom you are with, the objects what you are enjoying, the time when you are enjoying. So, the pleasure also, this Anandamayaha, obtaining in this different, in form of different dispositions, varied, dependent on what? Conditions, many conditions. They're conditional. Now, what is the Priyam? What is Priyam? Priyam the modaha you can say priyataram. Priyam is dearer, dear, desirable disposition. Desirable disposition is what? Happy disposition. So pleasure is desirable disposition. And priyataram, more desirable mental disposition is what? Happier disposition. The most desirable priyatamam, priyam, dear, priyataram, dearer, priyatamam, dearest. Priyam, priyataram, priyatamam. Dear, dearer, dearest. Desirable disposition, more desirable disposition, the most desirable disposition. So happy disposition, happier disposition, happiest disposition. So pleasure, joy and ecstasy. So how can we differentiate the degree of pleasure? It's beautifully said. What is priyam? What is priyam? It is said, suppose when you happen to see and give an object which you like the best. When you happen to see a given object which you like, which you are fond of, then at the sight of the desirable, preferable, object, there is you have the experience of pleasure. The pleasure enjoyable, obtained at the sight of a given desired object. The sight of it. Something you like. When you see something which you like, there is pleasure. That is called priyam. But something I like, I want to enjoy, I like it, I see, but it's only pleasure. But what I like, when I get it, is a greater pleasure. So, greater degree of pleasure, enjoyed when I get it. I don't simply see it, I also get it. That's called priyataram, happier disposition, modaha. Even after getting what I want, I do not simply see it, I got it in my hand. After getting it also, only when I enjoy it, when I enjoy the object, then dearest disposition, most desirable disposition, happiest disposition. Let me give you an example. See, ishta darshanajam priyam. What is priyam? The pleasure born of seeing something which I like, which I want to enjoy. Okay, the pleasure born of seeing something which I like to enjoy, which I like. Ishta darshanajam sukham. Ishta means desired. Ishta means desired. Darshanam means sight, seeing. Darshanajam means born of seeing. Born at the sight of. So pleasure born at the sight of a desired object, something what I like. Ishta darshanajam sukham priyam. Ishta darshanajam sukham priyam. I will give you my own example. Okay, you will all remember it. When I walk on this walk from the lecture hall to the dining hall or to my home, I see the sappadilla tree. I see sappadilla somewhere. Fruits, nice ripe fruits which are not bitten by other creatures. A full fruit, well ripe fruit. When I see falling under the tree, there is priyam. Ishta darshanajam sukham. The pleasure, there's some inexplicable pleasure, some mental condition, okay? You can take example I'm giving, easiest example, because you all know. Ishta darshanajam sukham. Just, it's available here. I can pick it. Ishta darshanajam sukham. Pleasure born at the sight of something desired, an object which is desirable. Ishta means desired. Undesirable means what? There won't be sukham, there won't be pleasure. You meet somebody, suppose whom you like very much. You adore a person for the qualities, for the nature, you adore somebody for the personality, for the person's personality, what he is, how he is. Then you happen to say person. Suddenly what you do? Oh, you go and hug the person. You like. So at the sight of, that person has come here. So at the sight of the person, the sight of an object, something which you like, there's a pleasure. That's ishta darshanajam sukham. You do not need to enjoy anything. Just by seeing an object which you like, seeing the person whom you like, there is a pleasure. That is ishta darshanajam sukham. Then afterwards, I go and take the sappadilla from there. I hold it in my hand. Then ishta praptijam sukham. Not only I see it, I have got it. Now I own the fruit. I have the fruit. I possess it in my hand. It is in my custody now, isn't it? It is not. I'm not simply seeing it somewhere, which I may be allowed to take. I may not be allowed to take. But now I have taken it. It's in my hand. Ishta praptijam sukham. Not ishta darshanajam sukham. Ishta praptijam sukham or ishta grahanajam sukham. Now there's a greater joy in holding, having, possessing, isn't it? An object which I like. A desired object. So pleasure born not at the sight of the joy here. There's a greater joy, greater pleasure. There's a happier disposition in possessing the desired object. Ishta grahanajam or praptijam sukham. Jam means born of. It's a greater joy, which we say what? Modaha. It's a greater joy. Now, I hold it, because even when I'm holding and walking to my room, sappadilla, I saw, I picked it, I hold it, holding sappadilla, I'm walking to my room, but just on the way, it may fall down and break, or somebody can walk on it. Swamiji used to say, between lip and the cup, there is always a slip. Isn't it? Even after having it, I may lose it. But no, I take it carefully to the room, wash it nicely, remove the skin, cut it, and enjoy the fruit. When I eat the fruit, enjoy the fruit, now that object desired and Okay, and the desire of the enjoyer of the object, enjoyed object, there is no distance. Okay, it's called I enjoy the fruit. Then Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham, the greatest pleasure, the happiest disposition, born of the enjoyment of the desired object is what? Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. Anubhavena Jatam Sukham. Jayamanam Sukham. Okay? When I enjoy what I like, then there is greatest pleasure. Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. Ishta means desired object. So pleasure born of the enjoyment of the desired object is what? Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. This is not only for me, here, all of us, after the class, when you go for lunch, and you see in Swami's house, you see the food is ready. Suppose when that day our Krishna Sharan has prepared some food which you like. You are also very hungry. When you enter something what you like, oh yeah, I'm hungry, I eat something because I'm not very keen to eat. No, first there. You see something what you like the best is there. At the sight of the food what is there is a pleasure. Oh, I can eat it, it's there. That is Ishta Darshanajam Sukham. Then take your plate, fill your plate, go and sit it, then Ishta Praptijam Sukham. And then sitting quietly, forgetting yourself, you start eating the food. Then what now? Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. Is it clear? This is what? There's a gradation. Therefore, this is what is Anandamayaha? What is Anandamayaha? Pleasure. Experiential pleasure. So, experiential pleasure is a graded pleasure because there's a variation. The degree varies. Therefore, the graded, experiential, graded, conditional, arriving, departing, time-bound, impermanent, pleasure is Anandamayaha. This is pleasure. Now, you have to say, what is Atma? What is Atma? Atma is not Anandamayaha. So you cannot take this experiential, time-bound, arriving, departing, conditional, graded pleasure, experiential pleasure as Atma. Atma is not Anandamayaha. Atma is not Anandamayaha. So, this, because is Ananda, is conditional. Look, it is a conditional pleasure. Conditional means what? Conditional means there is a condition. First of all, you must be able to see the desired object. And an object which you desired, when you see also, it must be there. The object can go. Object is not, no object can stay permanently. After some time, object will disappear. And even if you see it, you must be able to get it. Even if you might get it, you must be able to enjoy it. So there's all conditions. I must see it, I must find it, I must be able to get it, and I must be able to enjoy it. So many conditions. This graded pleasure is dependent on different conditions. Again, the same object which is enjoyable for you at one time is not enjoyable at some other time. When you're very healthy, no stomach problem, you're healthy, then you see something which you like it, you enjoy it. The same what is enjoyable when you see when you're not healthy. So, conditional. And music, something which you liked the best once upon a time, some other time, you're no more interested. Something you will become bored with this. Always lots of objects which you enjoy at one time a lot, some other time, I don't know, I've lost interest in it. I heard many people saying it. I used to love it, now I lost interest in it. Which means same objects of pleasure are not the same objects of pleasure anymore. So conditional. And some objects which you enjoy in one place may not be enjoyed in some other place. Which means this pleasure, this experiential pleasure, this graded experiential pleasure is conditional, dependent on many conditions. And also, until you see the desired object, there was not just that joy wasn't there. And even if after seeing it, until you get it, that pleasure is not there. Until you enjoy it, it's not there. It's not possible. Therefore, many conditions. That is why it's time bound. It arrives. It is once the object of pleasure disappears, and our pleasure also goes. Therefore, it is arriving, departing, temporary, impermanent, fluctuating, conditional, experiential pleasure is Anandamayaha. Therefore, Atma is not Anandamayaha. The very Mayat says subject to change. Whereas, Atma is not subject to change. Atma is non-arriving, non-departing, everlasting, time-wise limitless, spatially limitless, object-wise limitless. Existence, consciousness is Atma. So Atma is not this pleasure. Then what is Atma? It is said, Ananda Atma, Ananda Atma, Anandamayaha. The pleasure which is subject to change is Anandamayaha, which is a state of experience, which is experiential, which is state of mind. Understand? Whereas Anandaha Atma. Anandaha means, Anandaha is happiness. It is not adjective, not happy disposition, not happier disposition, not the happiest disposition. It is not even an adjective. It is the very noun. Anandaha, happiness. So happiness is not an experiential. Understand? The mental dispositions come and go, subject to change. This happiness is Atma. Atma is Anandaha, not Anandamayaha. Happiness. We have to see the difference between happiness and pleasure. Okay, there's a gradation in pleasure. That's okay. We'll see the difference between pleasure and happiness. What is happiness is? What is happiness? Happiness is not a state of mind. happiness is non-experiential. This Anandamayaha can be said to be Kosha Anandaha. Why? This is Anatma. Okay, pleasure is what now? Pleasure, experiential pleasure, is a state of mind, is an experience, therefore which comes and goes, is Anatma. Anandamayaha is Anatma. Anatma means what? Not Atma. Non-self. Atma is not Anandamayaha. Therefore Anandamayaha is Anatma. Not this experiential pleasure is not Atma. We do identify ourselves with, we do identify the I sense with even this experiential pleasure. But really speaking, Atma is not Anandamayaha. Because this experiential it is a state of mind. Pleasure comes and goes, therefore it's a state of mind. Pleasure comes and goes, it's a state of mind, is time bound. It's a conditional. Whereas Atma is Anandaha. So, because it is Anandamaya is Anatma, we say Koshanandaha. Kosha Anandamaya is Koshanandaha. Whereas Ananda is what? Atmanandaha. You have to see, happiness is Atmanandaha. Pleasure is Koshanandaha. You say Kosha means Anatma, time bound. Is Koshanandaha, pleasure is experiential, whereas Atmanandaha is non-experiential. Koshanandaha is time bound, arrives and departs, whereas Atmanandaha is permanent, non-arriving, non-departing, everlasting, unchanging, unchangeable is Atmanandaha, which is happiness. Koshanandaha, pleasure, comes and goes. So which is experiential, Koshanandaha is experiential, Atmanandaha non-experiential. Koshanandaha comes and goes, Atmanandaha is permanent. Beginningless, endless, changeless, non-arriving, non-departing, everlasting is happiness. Whereas a pleasure comes and goes. And here, Koshanandaha is dependent on many conditions and objects, whereas Atmanandaha is independent, everlasting, independent. Happiness is not dependent on anything else for being happiness. This is the difference. Okay? Now, what is the difference between happiness and pleasure? So, Anandaha Atma. What is Atma here? Anandaha Atma. Happiness is Atma. So, happiness is not a state of mind. So, happiness is expression of, manifestation of fullness. Which means happiness is the very nature of reality. Atma. In fact, I am, Shastram says, you are happiness. The content of I is happiness. I, the self, am the happiness. Aham Anandaha. You sing in your bhajan, Anandoham. You sing that. Nice. Hereafter it must be contemplation. All these days we are simply singing. Hereafter, now you know the meaning. Aham Ananda Swarupaha. I, the self, am of the nature of happiness, fullness. Now it must, when you sing, it is contemplation for you. Without knowing when you're singing, it is meditation or satsang bhajan. But it is now, it must be contemplation. So I am happiness means what? So happiness is not an object of experience. Pleasure is experiential, means object of experience. Whereas happiness is not an object of experience. What is happiness then? Happiness is the very intrinsic nature of the very subject of experience. The swarupam of the experiencer is happiness. The truth of experiencer, I, is happiness. What is happiness? You have to understand. Being limited is being bound. Being bound is being unhappy. And being limitless is being free. And being free is being happy. Therefore, limitlessness is freedom. Freedom is happiness. Got the mathematics? So happiness is, limitlessness is, now one more thing I tell you. Being limited, don't worry, I'll make it very clear. We'll go step by step. Being limited is being bound. We can stop. Being limited is being inadequate. Being inadequate is being bound. Being bound is being unhappy. You can put other ways also. Really, it is very important because I'm going to teach you later on. Being bound, being limited, being inadequate is being unhappy. Is it true or not? Therefore, next step. Being limitless is being full. Being full means what? Being free from inadequacy is being full. So being limitless is being full, and being full is being free, and being free is being happy. Now next step, let us convert this into noun. So being limitless, limitlessness. Being full, fullness. Being free, freedom. Being happy, happiness. Therefore, limitlessness is fullness. Fullness is freedom. Freedom is happiness. Is it clear? Therefore, limitlessness is the nature of the Atma. Being time-wise limitless, spatially limitless, object-wise limitless. The absolute reality, which is existence consciousness, is time-wise limitless. spatially limitless, object-wise limitless, therefore said to be of the nature of limitlessness, and therefore it is of the nature of happiness. Happiness is the nature of the reality. Happiness and reality are not two different things. Fullness and reality are not two different things. Like heat and fire are not two different things. Light and sun are not two different things. Inseparable intrinsic nature. If we say what with reference to ocean, water is full. The ocean is full of water means water fills the ocean. Why does water fill the ocean? Being the reality, being full is its nature. Being full is what? Fullness. There's no effort. Being the reality, being full is the nature of the water with reference to ocean. Similarly, limitless existence consciousness, being the reality of the whole, being full, being pervasive, being limitless, the very nature. Understand? For happiness is not a mental condition, is not a state of mind which comes and goes. Happiness is the very nature of reality. Okay, now we'll see the difference between happiness and pleasure. In fact, pleasure is a fraction of, pleasure is a state of mind which is manifestation of fraction of fullness. Pleasure is a manifestation of fraction of fullness. Pleasure is a manifestation of fraction of fullness. Happiness is the manifestation of, expression of fullness, not fraction of fullness. Pleasure is manifestation of fraction of fullness, whereas happiness is manifestation of or expression of fullness, not fraction. Fullness manifest is happiness. Fraction of fullness manifest is pleasure. Is it clear? Now let me tell you. Which means even the pleasure also, any pleasure we enjoy, we experience, is non-different from happiness. Happiness is not pleasure, but any pleasure you enjoy is happiness. Like what? Like what? Wave is ocean, but ocean is not the wave. Any pleasure you enjoy is happiness, but happiness is not wave. Happiness is not pleasure, because happiness is fullness, pleasure is fraction. So when do you enjoy pleasure? See, whenever, I think I told you this last time also, whenever you enjoy any given object, which you like. So, ishtajam sukham, ishta darshanajam sukham, then ishta praptijam sukham, then ishta anubhavajam sukham. Whenever you enjoy any object, whenever you are engrossed in the enjoyment of any given object, any given situation, then your attention is totally held by that object. Whether you are eating something which you like, or you're watching a program, so everything, all those people who are like, they like, luckily people who are inclined for those. People who are not inclined for that, they may not enjoy it. They'll go other side. But people who like, they all who gathered here, they're all completely engrossed. Even though many people did not know the meaning of Hanuman Chalisa, still the words they enjoyed, the sound they enjoyed. The tabla was creating a miraculous situation. So people are engrossed. When people are enjoying, completely engrossed in enjoyment, where is the attention? Attention is totally held by the object of enjoyment. You're totally engrossed. Whenever attention is totally held by the object of enjoyment, you forget yourself. Is it true or not? Sometimes you must be totally engrossed in that. Not little. You forget yourself. The people who are watching television also, when they're watching so much, completely they're lost. Lost means what? They forget themselves. Why? Attention is totally held by what is being watched. In bhajan, attention is held by completely the sound what is being heard. People, then you forget yourself. For a moment, you do not even know you are. That's why I used to get a lot of jokes. People are watching television, some thief comes, and then he takes and he goes back. Which means what, people do not even know who comes in. Why they do not know who comes in? Because they do not even know that they are. What happened? They totally lost. See, being lost in enjoying, in being engrossed in enjoyment of a given object of pleasure, you forget yourself. Whenever, next step, okay? Whenever you forget yourself, your identity is not with anything. Whenever secret, okay? Whenever you forget yourself, you do not have any identity with identity. In forgetfulness of one's own self, there is no identity. You must be conscious of yourself to be identified. Total attention, very important point I'm saying. Total attention. You forget yourself. So if you forget yourself, then means that's called forgetting oneself is called being lost. For length of time, for a few minutes or something, or for a few hours. When you're lost, means there's no identity possible. Whenever you forget yourself, there's no identity. When there's no identity, there's no sense of smallness, sense of inadequacy, there's no sense of limitation centered on I. Which means the common human fundamental problem of sense of smallness centered on I is forgotten for some time. That problem is not there. Is it clear? You have to be with me, step by step. So whenever the smallness is not, the fundamental problem is not possible, is not there for a short while. Why? The ahankara is not resolved for some time. When you forget yourself, there's no identity. Therefore, there's no pain, no pleasure. Okay, there is no jealousy, there's no hatred, there's no anger. There's no other emotions disturbing. Understand? Then the state of mind is what? Then you are yourself. Whenever there's no identity with the body, next point, whenever there's no identity with body, mind, sense complex, what are you? You are just yourself. I want to say something very subtle. Hope you are seeing it. Whenever there's no identity, you are just yourself. When you are yourself, that is yourself. Means that is happiness. What is happiness? Your nature. Whenever you are yourself, there is happiness. Understand? You are yourself means what? There is only happiness. If I say wave is water means what? Water. Suppose remove, is it clear? Remove the wave form, what is it? Water. There's no identity. What is there? You are yourself. In forgetfulness, when you forget yourself, the ahankara is resolved temporarily. I sense is resolved temporarily. Therefore, no identity possible. In non-identity, you are yourself. Whenever you are yourself, what is happiness? But what happens after the bhajan was over? Bhajan was over and attention was disturbed, distracted. Then, of course, something else, something nice was there. Prasadam, all those things were there. But still, attention was that you are no more lost. Attention is brought back. Or is taken away from the object which was holding your attention. Then again, you are conscious of yourself. You do not forget yourself. You are conscious of yourself. Again, identity comes. In identity, what happens? You are not yourself. You are not yourself means, what about the happiness you enjoyed for length of time? You're not just being yourself is what? Being happy. Being yourself is being happy. It is not an object of experience. You do not experience anything there. You are just yourself. Being yourself is being happy. Without what is being your myself? Without being any identity, without identity, wrong identity. Without wrong identity means what? Just being yourself is being happy. So being happy is not an object of experience. It is just yourself. Got it? But what happens? Attention goes, it gone. It doesn't go. Happiness is still there. Is it clear? Because that happiness, then you are not yourself anymore means, then that the momentum, that the state of mind, now that what's only fraction. Why it's a fraction? Attention again is disturbed. Is it clear? Therefore, pleasure is only manifestation of fraction of fullness. Got it? Hope you got it. Now tell me, what is the source of pleasure? An object? No. The object was a bhajan of the whole situation. It helped you hold the attention. Was only instrumental. Pleasure, okay, just the source of the pleasure is yourself. Is it clear? The pleasure does not come from the object. Pleasure does not come from the object. Hope you're all with me. No pleasure, we say object of pleasure. We means object is not a source of pleasure. The source of pleasure is happiness, which is yourself. Fullness, which is yourself. Got it? One more example. In deep sleep state, all the thoughts resolve. So mind is non-functional. Mind is non-functional, all the thoughts resolve. All the thoughts resolve means what? Including the knowledge of existence of one's own self. So in sleep you are. Don't say I'm not there. Okay? In sleep you are, but not knowing you are. Then also ahankara is what? Resolved. The knowledge of one's own existence, obtaining in the form of thought, in terms of I am, is resolved for some time. Whenever the I sense is resolved, that is naturally resolved. Okay? Here in enjoyment of pleasure, only for a temporarily, the object helps you suspense. You forget yourself. Because attention is totally held, temporarily it is resolved. But in sleep, naturally, because the function of meditation itself, all the thoughts resolve, including the thought, including the knowledge of self-existence, obtaining in the form of thought in terms of I am, is also resolved. That's why in sleep you are not knowing your own existence. If you think you know you are, then it is not deep sleep state. It's a waking state. In sleep you are, but you are not knowing your existence. Which means whenever you are not knowing your existence, when enjoying an object, you forget yourself. In sleep also, you are there not knowing your existence. Whenever you do not know you are, then you cannot have identity. There's no identity. Which means it's a total ignorance. There is total ignorance. In sleep, there is total ignorance. What is total ignorance? You're not knowing your existence is partial ignorance. You're not knowing the existence of the world. You do not know you are. Therefore, you cannot know the world is. There's ignorance of the existence of yourself and the ignorance of the existence of the world. Isn't it? Do you know the world is in deep sleep state? Do you know you are in deep sleep state? This is total ignorance. Therefore, you cannot know what you are also in sleep. That's why you must be awake to listen to the Vedanta class. Because in Vedanta class, you are helped to see what you are. If you do not even know you are, how can the Shastra make you see what you are? So, knowing what I am is possible only if I know I am first. That's why being awake in the Vedanta class is very, very important. So in deep sleep state, you know you are not knowing your existence. Therefore, you cannot know what you are also. There's a total ignorance. There's no knowledge of existence of yourself. There's no knowledge of the existence of the world. There's a total ignorance. Is it clear what is Purna Ajnanam, Purna Avidya? Okay, when the entire world dissolves also in Pralaya Skala, you will be like that. After death also, you will be like that. That is why we don't need to worry. How you are comfortable and safe in sleep, so you will be in death and also in Mahapralaya. Suppose, we know how once when yugas, this total dissolution takes place, the whole universe becomes unmanifest. So what? You will be safe. Or death happens, even Corona. Suppose, we don't want, Corona will not come here. Okay. A lot of Surya Namaskar is being done. So, what I'm saying, then even death also, how you will be? You will be safe and comfortable, indestructible, untouchable. How you are in sleep, so you'll also be in death. Which means in sleep, you are. You are. I'm repeating, you are. You are not absent, okay? You are. But how you are? Not knowing the existence of yourself, not knowing the existence of the world, is called total ignorance. Whenever there's in total ignorance also, there is no identity. In sleep, there's no identity. In sleep, there's no identity. Not only that, there is non-dual experience. What is non-dual experience? There's not non-dual. Vision of non-duality is not there. Still ignorance is there, isn't it? Which means there's no I am the knower, the world is known. There's no knower-known duality is not there. So differentiation of objects is not possible. Nothing is manifest. Everything is unmanifest. Everything is undifferentiated. There's no duality, okay? There's non-dual experience alone is there. Then, whenever there's no identity, whenever I sense is resolved, there's total ignorance. In total ignorance, there is no identity. In non-identity, there's no experience of pain and pleasure. That is Sukham. Understand? That experience of the absence of pain and pleasure, experience of the absence of pain and pleasure is also what? Sukham. And that Sukham also comes and goes. Because any pleasure, any degree of pleasure is what? Experiential, comes and goes. Even Samadhi. Samadhi also, there is Sukham. There's a beginning of experience. It goes. Why? any experiential pleasure, any degree of experiential pleasure comes and goes. And what is the source of pleasure? Happiness. What is that happiness? Yourself. So being yourself without any wrong identity is happiness. But immediately thought goes, oh, then we can keep on sleeping. In sleep also there is no identity. Therefore there is sukham. But understand, the sukham which you experience in sleep is temporary, which comes and goes. Okay? When you know what you are, in knowledge, you know you are in waking state. If you also know what you are, and being yourself is happiness, being happy. Being yourself is being happy. Understand? Knowing what I am is being myself. Being myself is what? Being happiness. Being happy. Being happy is happiness. I am happiness. In sleep, what you experience is not happiness. When you are knowing what you are, then you are yourself. That is happiness. In sleep, you are yourself, not knowing what you are, what that is ignorance, then that is experiential sukham, which comes and goes, is bliss. In total ignorance, what is experienced is bliss. In total knowledge, okay, being yourself is happiness. In fact, being yourself is being happy. You are happiness. See, being yourself, not knowing your existence, is ignorance, is it? Is bliss. In total ignorance, being yourself without knowing your existence, in total ignorance, there is experience of sukham, which is bliss. Whereas in total knowledge, the total knowledge is happiness, total ignorance is bliss. Bliss also experiential sukham, experiential pleasure which comes and goes. Whereas happiness does not come and go because it is yourself. Do you come and go? Where will you go? Where do you come? Where do you come from? You're always everywhere. As everything. You means what? The truth of I. Don't worry. Next class we'll take care of next classes. Okay? What I'm saying? Ananda Atma. Ananda Atma. If everything is told in the very class, the next, what are you next class? Ananda Atma. Ananda Atma. So Ananda Mayaha is experiential, time-bound, arriving, departing, conditional state of mind, a pleasure. Whereas Anandaha is happiness, which is Atma is of the nature of happiness. Atma is Anandaha. Ananda is Atma. Now, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. Now, what is support of this Anandaha, fullness? Atma is of the nature of fullness. Atma is fullness, happiness. Means Brahman, Brahma here means Brahmanandaha is support of the Atmanandaha. Okay? Atmananda, Brahmanandaha is support of Atmanandaha. What does it mean? It is like saying, it's not really. What it means is Brahmanandaha and Atmanandaha are one and the same. When Brahmanandaha is said to be the support of Atmanandaha, Brahmanandaha and Atmanandaha are one and the same. There's no division. It's exactly like saying, tomorrow again I'll again unfold a little more tomorrow. Suppose if I say, there's total space and there's part space. Suppose if we say total space is supportive of the part space. Expression. Total space is supportive of the part space. There's a parts, no? Part space. Means, what does it mean? Does the total space support this part space? No. What it means is, because space is one, indivisible, undivided, partless whole. There's no such a thing called part space. What is only one total space. Space is how it is. It is partless, undivided, indivisible, isn't it? Space is one indivisible, undivided, partless whole. But there's the part space. When I say total space supports the part space, means it only seems to be. Total space seems to be supporting the part space. Really speaking, there's no difference between part space and total space. The one and the same. Similarly, Atmanandaha and Brahmanandaha means what? Anandaha, fullness, happiness is the nature of the reality. Which reality? The all-pervasive, time-wise limitless, spatially limitless, object-wise limitless, the reality, existence, consciousness, therefore which is of the nature of limitlessness, implied by the term Brahma, as the truth of the entire cosmos, the same reality as looked upon as the essential, the truth of the individual is meant by the term Atma. Only reality implied by two different terms, Atma and Brahma. Therefore, happiness being the nature of the reality, Brahmanandaha, Atmanandaha mean the same. Is it clear? Brahmanandaha is supportive of Atmanandaha does not mean they are two different. There's not two different happinesses, okay? Is it clear? I made it clear? If it's a simple expression, total space is supportive of this part space. It's only expression because it seems to be supportive. Really speaking, there's no support is needed because space is one. Is it clear? Similarly, Atmanandaha and Brahmanandaha are not two. Anandaha is one. What means what? Ananda is happiness is the nature of reality, the only reality. In fact, happiness is synonym of the word limitlessness. Existence, consciousness, which is of the nature of limitlessness, is of the nature of fullness. And that reality, obtaining as the reality of the whole is implied by the term Brahma, the same reality obtaining as the essential nature of the individual is implied by the term Atma. How many realities are there? Same. Therefore, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha means this Brahmanandaha is supportive of the Atmanandaha, means it is an expression stating Brahmanandaha, Atmanandaha are one and the same. It means Anandaha is happiness, which is the nature of the Atma reality, which means Atma and happiness are not two different things. Brahman and reality, happiness are not two different things. Absolute reality, existence, consciousness, which is of the nature of limitlessness and limit of happiness, are not two different things. Is it clear? Don't wait. Tomorrow morning I'll repeat this. Because tomorrow I'll write on the board and I'll make it clear. Okay? In fact, Puja Swamiji always, we never like to have anything in the class, writing, because the Shastra class must be unfolded, the clarity must be there in the part of the teacher, the words must be communicated carefully, students must be prepared and listening, knowledge should be flowing. Because no board, no pencil, no pen, no distraction, nothing is required in Vedanta class. Of course, you can write, take the notes, no problem. But I'm saying generally that we don't need to do anything, because nothing should take attention from what is being said, what is being communicated. Okay. Now, tadapyesha sloko bhavati. Tadapyesha sloko bhavati. So regarding this Anandamaya, now no more Atma, okay, Koshaha. Also, there is a Rig mantra which you will see tomorrow, okay. I'll clarify this, don't worry. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Tatsat. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.